Welcome to Caricomp Insider, where high-tech facial recognition meets real-world intelligence.
A child's social security number is 51 times more likely to be used by a synthetic identity thief than an adult's. Not because kids have better credit. Because kids don't check their credit at all. That number should sit with you for a second. Synthetic identity fraud doesn't target people the way we usually imagine identity theft. Nobody's draining your bank account while you watch in horror. Instead, a criminal takes one real piece of information, a social security number, and wraps it in a completely invented person. Fake name. Fake address. Fake date of birth. And that Frankenstein identity walks right through the front door of the financial system. If you've ever applied for a credit card, opened a bank account, or unlocked your phone with your face, the systems meant to protect you are the same ones being fooled. And if that makes you uneasy, good. That unease is the beginning of understanding. Today I want to walk you through exactly how this works, why it's accelerating, and what a perfect match actually proves, which turns out to be a lot less than you'd expect. So how does a person who never existed end up with a credit score? It starts with that single real ingredient, the social security number. According to Consumer Affairs, the fraudster doesn't need anything else that's genuine. They invent a name, pick an address, assign a birthday, and apply for credit. The first application usually gets denied. But, and this is the part that stopped me, that denial itself creates a credit file. The system now has a record of this person. The credit agencies call this a fragmented file. Basically, the real SSN anchors the file, but everything else attached to it is fiction. An investigator who checks the SSN sees it's valid. Checks the name, it looks fine on its own. Checks the address, nothing obviously wrong. The problem only shows up when you cross-reference all three at once. And most verification systems don't do that. Now the criminal plays a patient game. They nurture that identity like a gardener tending a plant. Small credit lines first. Bills paid on time. Months go by, sometimes years. The credit score climbs, limits increase. Then comes what fraud analysts call the bust-out. The fraudster maxes every credit line on the same day and vanishes. No real person files a complaint, because no real person's full identity was stolen. That child whose SSN was borrowed? They won't discover the damage until they're 18 and applying for their first car loan. For anyone who's a parent, that thought alone should change how you think about protecting your kids' information. What makes this worse, dramatically worse, is how fast AI has supercharged the process. According to reporting from some synthetic identity document fraud jumped 311% between the first quarter of 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. According to Experian, false identity cases rose 60% in 2024 compared to the year before. Those cases now make up nearly a third of all identity fraud. What used to take a criminal weeks of careful document forgery now takes minutes with generative AI tools. And the output doesn't look sloppy. It looks perfect. That perfection extends to the face itself. Deepfake technology can now generate realistic video that passes liveness detection, the system that asks you to blink or turn your head to prove you're a real person sitting in front of a camera. A fraudster intercepts a verification session, feeds in an AI-generated face that matches the fake ID photo, and the system sees what looks like a living, breathing human matching valid documents. Voice cloning makes it even easier. According to researchers tracking these tools, just 3 seconds of someone's voice is enough to clone it. A YouTube clip, a voicemail greeting, a social media video, any of those will do. So a clean ID photo, a matching selfie, and a voice that sounds right can all be manufactured from scratch. For fraud teams, that means a single verification check proves almost nothing. For the rest of us, it means the systems we trust to confirm this is really you can be fooled by someone who isn't you at all. And there's a structural blind spot that makes detection even harder. When a synthetic identity applies for loans at 5 different banks on the same day, each bank only sees its own application. Individually, every application looks clean. The credit score checks out. The ID matches. No single lender can see the full picture. Detection only becomes possible at the bureau level, when someone steps back and looks across all 5 institutions at once. Most people assume that if a bank approves you, the bank has confirmed you're real. That assumption is understandable, because for decades it was mostly true. But traditional fraud detection was built to catch stolen identities. One real person. Complete takeover. It was never designed to catch fragmented fraud, where one real data point gets wrapped in layers of invention. A perfect match isn't proof of a real person. It's proof that every individual checkpoint was satisfied, and that's exactly what synthetic fraud is engineered to do. The red flag isn't a mismatch. The red flag is when everything matches too cleanly and nothing contradicts across systems. So remember 3 things. First, synthetic identity fraud uses one real piece of data, usually a social security number, and builds an entirely fictional person around it. Second, AI tools now generate faces, voices, and documents realistic enough to pass the verification systems we all rely on. Third, catching this fraud requires cross-checking across multiple sources. No single match, no single institution, and no single selfie is enough anymore. Whether you review fraud cases for a living or you're just trying to keep your kids' future credit safe, the lesson is the same. Trust isn't built from evidence that matches. It's built from evidence that's been tested against contradiction. The full story's in the description, if you want the deep dive.
Now you know something most people in this industry don't. Use it. And when you're ready to put it to work, Caracomp.com. We'll see you tomorrow.